Hey there, it's Rob Hatch, and welcome to How I Use That. Today we're going to be talking with Trudi Roth, who is a two-time entrepreneur, or she's double stuffed, as I think she said earlier. We're going to talk to her not about one app, but we're going to talk to her because she is a writer and content creator at It's the True Story. She is also a meditation teacher at True Bliss Meditation. And we're going to talk to her about how she manages her workflow with all the different types of clients that she serves, because each client might require a different app, a different project management app, a different communication app. So we're going to talk to her about how she keeps it all together. Hey there, Trudi. Thanks so much for joining us today. Welcome to How I Use That. How you doing?
Hi, good. Great, Rob. Love to be talking about how I use all the many apps. So many
Right,
apps.
we're going to talk about every single app on the planet because you're forced to use all of them. So normally, as I was saying, we typically talk to entrepreneurs about how they use one app to manage everything, right? One of the things that helps them to keep their crap together, basically. You have part of your business as a writer and content creator is you have multiple clients that you're serving. You are forced to use whatever app they're on because they've chosen, I don't know, give me an example of some of the apps that you have to deal with.
All of them. I mean, it's so funny because back in the day when I started, and this was back in the 90s, I did project management, and there was one program you could use. Microsoft Project was a great programming app, and I used it constantly because I was programming massive amounts of projects all the time, a lot of print production, stuff like that. And it was all the same stuff. It's really interesting. Everything's changed, but nothing has changed at all. It was like trying to crack the code of the software being user friendly, and it's so not in a lot of ways. And so I have multiple freelance clients. They all seem to have a different favorite project management app. So that's like right now, Monday is one of the apps. Basecamp is one of the apps. I just onboarded a new client, or they onboarded me, and I'm taking Asana tutorials. I've used Trello. I've used Notion. Like the list goes on. Like I feel like, and Slack constantly. I have so many Slack challenges, Slack channels going on that it's just fascinating. And I have to say, from a writer's perspective, from a content creator perspective, I have not cracked the code of one great editorial calendar.
That's really interesting because every one of those apps that you listed in some way, shape, or form has like a content creation calendar template that you can kind of use, and someone on the inside of those companies has generally come up with their version of that with tweaks or whatever, and it's still not perfect, which is what I think we're all chasing, right? I think as solopreneurs, I can't tell you what like ClickUp and you mentioned Monday, and there's Trello and all the things that fill my feed with ads for the best way to manage your team. And it seems like software companies like that are they all look very similar, by the way. They all have similar color scheme, and they're all touting themselves as a way to keep your teams communications together. And I'm sure they all work in some way, shape, or form, but you're saying, that they all have their flaws. They're not perfect. I haven't found one that works great, but what is your, like, if you had to pick one right now, like if you were starting fresh and you were going to force everyone on your team, starting a company, like, is there one that you'd be like, yeah, that's the one that's working?
That's so funny. You know what, honestly, and this is probably so rude of me to say, I don't have one favorite. My one favorite is how I manage myself, and it's a pad of paper.
Oh, I love the pad of paper, as you know.
I love pad of paper, and I do the Rob Hatch style. I pick my things, and I have my action stacks, and I'm very organized that way on paper. And then virtually, I don't know. I sort of cracked, or one of my clients, Notion, is an app that I've found it's pretty simple and simplistic. And funny enough, it's just black and white. Isn't that funny? It's
Right.
like all of them are all like bells and whistles and pop colors and aren't you happy and pithy little, AI chat bots that want to say hello to you or, why don't you stop by the water cooler or whatever.
Right.
Yes, they're all into. Notion's really easy. It's like one of my clients, like he will share, I help him with thought leadership content and he gets a lightning bolt of an idea and he shares it through Notion. And then we pop it into what is his assistant has now created that looks like a calendar. So at least it's sort of
right.
Giving it back to basics things. But the rest of the things I have to say, like Basecamp, it's all linear. It's like I can go project by project or line by line, but it feels really hard to get a complete snapshot of what is due when. And I wish there was one that I could put all of my due dates and all my client things on. Like I stick them in my calendar on my phone. It's like if I don't know it, which I have them all memorized anyways, and I never miss a date. So
I kind of love this. That I mean, you're the what we're talking about is all usually tuning out all the demands and the tug at, oh, this one might be the one that really solves everything for me. One, you're saying banish that idea entirely. You're using virtually all of them and they all have their issues. But you're also using something so basic, which is just the calendar to manage you're writing on pen and paper and managing it through a calendar. So, walk me through what does a typical Trudi day look like anyway, when it comes to client work or in general?
A typical day in general, I mean, I really do block off like the first couple hours of the day and I already have prepared the night before. This is the old school Rob method, which I love, where it's working like you're on vacation. The main things that I have to get done, I already have that written down on paper. Then I start opening up all the apps. So on a typical day, I have one client that uses both Monday and Notion. And oftentimes if I'm writing something, I need to transcribe it. So a really awesome app that I love, that I'm a heavy user of, and I even ponied up and paid all the pro subscription fee for whatever, is Otter.ai. It's a transcription software.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Otter's terrific. So I'm usually firing up the Otter, going back through notes, re-listening to stuff, a lot of interviews that I do with people, re-listening to it. So what Otter does, it's great transcription. And it also has the audio. So it's really facile and easy. I have it on my phone and I have it on my computer. So wherever I am, I usually fire that up. I just wrapped up some projects with a client that was like, I redid 80 pages of their site. So we managed that all through Basecamp. So Basecamp used to be open all day, every day, just clicking through and lots of questions back and forth. Like I have to say, one of the things is the overwhelm of messages, right? Because all of those apps have messaging components, and all my clients have Slack channels. So I'm a heavy user of Slack too. I have probably 4 or 5 different Slack channels going at a given time. And then
so how do you prioritize that stuff that's coming in? Like how, if they each have you've got all these platforms open, you're serving multiple clients, when certain deadlines are and what you're working on, you've decided ahead of time what you're working on for the morning, but in comes a message. Do you kind of tune it out or do you check in at a certain time? Like how do you manage the flow of multiple clients pinging you on various platforms at once?
I suck at this. Like all the productivity experts will tell you, like turn it all off. Like put your notifications away and check in every couple hours, like have your check-in times, which I've tried to do. And it's like, it's like we're in this, sadly, that go read Rob's book. I'm just going to plug everything. We're in, we all have attention issues. And it's true. It's like, I see something coming in from a client in my head. I also have I hate to say I have a pecking order. I hope none of my clients are watching right now, but there's a pecking order. There are people that I want to respond to right away. And then there are people I don't have to. And so I'm constantly, I have the notification going on my computer and I will flip in and out. So it's like, I'll know if somebody's, pinging me on Slack. I have one client that I like to respond to right away because it's hard to catch him. And so I have my Slack my Slack notification sound, it's set to say hummus.
Oh,
So
nice.
hummus. Whenever hummus
So
comes up.
but right there, that's a filter, right? And you said pecking order, but honestly, you prioritized based on the client who's hard to get in touch with. So when you can capture, when you've got their attention, you want to grab it. So you've already programmed it. You didn't just have the default notification.
Nope.
You have Slack telling you with a very specific notification, this one's important.
Yes.
Hummus. Why hummus? I don't need to know, but what? Hummus is delicious, so it'll capture your attention.
Delicious and nutritious, and it's like the best sound in all of Slack. Like of course, when I first, started using Slack, I'm like, which sound is going to crack me up every time I hear it? It's hummus.
That's really funny.
Really funny.
We'll give a brief shout out to the Holyoke Hummus Company, which is in Western Mass. So delicious hummus. Shout out to them. So I mean, there is a filter there. I mean, that's your system that you've sort of developed based on what you know about the client and knowing, so that I don't, if they're listening, they have to know that there's certain clients that are a little bit more demanding, need a little bit more attention, harder to get.
Yep.
You've got to adjust your responsiveness there. So part of this is you've got those things open, despite, as you said, what some folks would tell you not to do and to check it. But there's a rationale behind it because you know that there's a certain responsiveness that you want to have and you want to be able to capture those things. So there's, you've decided that this is how it's going to be, even though it may not be ideal in the world of productivity or whatever.
Right. Well, it's, listen, it's, we're all getting used to asynchronous communication. And there's a downfall, which is that like synchronous, you're in the moment. This is the meditation teacher moment right here. You're in the present moment with somebody and you get more done. And the asynchronous piece of it, it's like everyone has so many apps going on and so many things happening. I think that they forget to check. So for example, this one particular client that has the hummus Slack notification, he's always like, oh, email's my best. Get me on email or you can Slack me. I'm not sure. It's like, and it changes constantly. So the mode of communication that he's paying attention to changes constantly. Sometimes it was in Notion and sometimes it's in Monday and sometimes it's in Slack and sometimes it's email. And every once in a while he just texts me and I'm like on it all, which is.
Well, because you kind of have to have those feelers out to be responsive. So, but this is the life you've chosen as a freelancer to have your business and serve your clients in this way. And you've just decided you want to be responsive. It's kind of hard to make every client use something that they don't use. I mean, you'd never be able to serve them that way. So it makes sense. Okay. So right now you said, paper is primarily how you use it. You keep track of things. Your calendar is how you remind yourself of these things. Communication channels, primarily Slack or the chats within those for that, throughout the day in the moment kind of communication. Other than that person that you were talking about, do you drop everything? Do you, when a message comes in, or do you just kind of check and return kind of quickly back to what you were working on if it's not high level?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty, that's my retainer client. So my biggest retainer client. So that's what that gets you. Put me on retainer. People. And if you don't, if it's a, one, here and there kind of a thing, awesome. And I'll get to you as soon as I can, I promise. So, no, I keep an eye and I try to be careful because also I have a lot of international clients. So
timing's different.
I have a British client, for example, that I'm working with right now, and we're working on a case study for her business. And so I check for literally for when I open my eyes first thing in the morning, because a lot of times there'll be a message in there and I'll want to respond because 6-7 o'clock my time is getting 4 o'clock in the afternoon her time, and there's a little window when we're both at work that if she wants to connect, we can. And I do feel like and this may be a Gen X-y thing or something like that. I don't know how the younger folks deal, but I feel like kind of like ultimately in-person connection, even if it's messaging, even if it's just sort of like a real-time chat, and sometimes even an email, it ends up being like that where you go back and forth, is better than kind of having long lags. Like I feel like it, you kind of have to strike when the iron's hot and So I try to do that without making myself too crazy. Like I said, I'm a meditation teacher.
Right.
So there
let's
is
talk about that. I pulled up your website for meditation. Like tell me about that. You're writing and producing content. That's a skill set that people seek you out for. You've been doing it for years. You've got your own show on YouTube. You've got your own channel on, or your own space on Instagram for It's the True Story. But tell me about the meditation stuff and that as is it a business right now as well? I mean, you're teaching. Tell me a little bit about that and how those things are different and how you work between those two worlds.
Cool. Thank you. Well, actually, I'll keep it sort of focused on a digital app-ish kind of a thread, because I had to do a lot of legwork to set up a new business. It was sort of like, I really just wanted the knowledge. And so I undertook a 2-year course of study to become a Vedic meditation teacher, which is a self-transcending technique. And I finished last fall, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm my worst client. Like, I haven't started thinking about a website and how am I going to manage this? And, part of what I do is I do free introductory talks. I do a free weekly group meditation on Sunday evenings at 4:00 Pacific time. It's on my website. You can check it out. And I also promote it on Instagram. So I did some legwork because it's like, I'm kind of old school. I want to build it on WordPress and 50 million plugins and all that. And for my needs right now, honestly, it's an all-in-one solution, and I'm on Squarespace at the moment. And it has a really great scheduling app that's fantastic. It feeds right into my calendar. I actually love how their scheduler works. Like, it's like people sign up and I can see who signed up. I can connect with them right through my phone. Message them if something changes or if I have a question or I need something. So that's, even for a very tiny nascent, brand new business, there's stuff and you forget about that. You don't think to yourself like, and I'm going to need a scheduling thing, and I'm going to need a calendar thing, and it's going to be email. Oh, and I got to make sure it integrates with MailChimp because that's my app of choice for, sending out emails. And, it just piled up quickly. So in terms of managing that, like, the nice thing is that it's all sort of automated, and I'll get updates every week of who's scheduled for what as reminders. Again, this thing has it all. It's all up here, but I need to stop depending on that. So that's how. Yeah.
But you just sort of talked about a dilemma, right? Because many of us have more than one business going on, right? I mean, if you're a consultant and a coach, but also you might run, some other website, whatever it is that you do, and that process that you described, being old school and wanting to knowing how to build your site, you could do it on your own. Probably you could, the WordPress stuff and wanting to use that, that might be really, it was really tempting, and knowing that, you knew it was an environment you knew, but here you were going, well, wait a second, there's this all-in-one, it's easy, all I have to do is write the content for it, which is what you do in your other job. So putting up simple stuff like that, and it's there, it's up. I've been advising a lot of folks to start there often, and have a friend who specializes in building those sites. Actually, it's far less expensive. Everything's right there. It's really clear and easy. And
it was a fraction of the time and the cost. I had it done. Yeah. I had the content written because that's what I do for a living, like in a day. And I hired my daughter's friend who's a sophomore in college and paid her well for her and very modestly. And it's a gorgeous, great looking site. And I'm super proud of it. And it's the back end is so easy. And, that's the other piece of it too. It's like, look at us with all the apps and all the things that are designed to make our life simpler. It complicates things. So I do want all under one roof. Like, I don't know, can we consider Squarespace an app? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe on some level.
Let's call it one for the purposes of the conversation, which is, really in the end, there's a piece of software that does something that you need. Mm-hmm. And you could do it with multiple pieces. Like you said, there's multiple plugins with WordPress, and, the argument used to be that there's so many developers working on it. There's, lots of people available to fix it and offer different solutions. But here's Squarespace just saying, do you really need all that? And, here's how it works. And plugging in something like Stripe to take a payment that's a 10-minute, it takes 10 minutes to set up a Stripe account.
Yep.
And then Squarespace is like, well, what's your account? And you give it to them and it's done. That simplicity, I think, is sort of what we've all been looking for. It's not perfect. Sure, it has limitations, but for exactly what you needed it to be right now. So you're doing these free workshops and trainings as well beyond that, or taking on clients as well on True Bliss Meditation?
Yeah, so for True Bliss, how it goes is I do a monthly intro talk that people can attend for free. I do a weekly free group meditation that's about an hour on Sundays. That one, the Zoom link is right on the site. I'm a heavy user of Zoom too, talking about apps that save your ass. Heavy duty user of Zoom, which is great. I mean, that's also like one of the beautiful, I have to say, one of the, pandemic silver lining playbook kind of thing is like people are more facile now with and more trusting of and comfortable with virtual communication. So for me, Zoom has really been like a lifesaver. Like I launched a business where a piece of it is in person.
Right.
I don't have any clients other than my mom so far, or theoretically. And there wasn't going to be any good way of reaching them because they couldn't just come to my house and meditate with me, which is, there's an energy exchange and the kind of meditation I teach. So at any rate, the, online meditations have really exploded, not just with me, but with across the board. And all these teachers that I know and respect have been doing, life-saving group meditations. I mean, for real, this is, mental health is at an all-time crisis level from this pandemic.
Yes.
Meditation is definitely one way to help mitigate that, the anxious response. And it's been a real blessing. So I'm so grateful to have that. And I was able to launch a business and meet people online. I still have to like be in person to give the mantra, which is a challenge I'm working on. And that's not even my main intent was this was such a powerful, life-changing practice for me. And Rob and we met several years ago and I made him meditate.
Yes.
So my whole goal is to get it to as many people as possible. So the more people that come in on the group meditation, the better. And now many more people than ever before from all over the world. I have people from the East Coast that sit in on my meditations. I have, my client who's in London is like, I'll join one of these times.
Right.
It's really phenomenal. So yeah, that's one of the apps that like I use on my phone. I was like rushing on Sunday. I was like stuck in LA traffic because I was telling Rob it's all back, which is a good sign and also very upsetting.
Right, exactly. I'm not ready for this yet.
Yeah, late for my meditation. And it was like, okay, well, I can just start it on my phone. It'll be fine. It'll be great.
Yep.
You can start talking to people, whoever shows up on Easter Sunday about meditation, and it'll be cool. It's no problem. So that is amazing.
And again, going back to all the overwhelm of starting a business and all of the options in front of you or launching this site, you made a decision to simplify and go with Squarespace. It had the scheduling app that works. It has an integration with, you post the Zoom link there so you can do this group meditation. So really just two things to allow you to deliver this plus, MailChimp integration, like three little things. MailChimp's got a free version. Squarespace is dead cheap and Zoom is pretty darn cheap as well. And there's free options there as well. So like, that's pretty cool to think about launching something like that with three simple apps right away and being able to deliver a service like, meditation of all things virtually like that. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was seamless. I mean, and also such a good experience for me because, people hire me to help them figure out what their digital presence is going to be. And I'm, I was old school, but I'm like, you know what? Make it easy, make it cheap, enter fast. I mean, that today, the real currency of that we have to be conscious of is the speed of delivery. I mean, it really it gives you a competitive advantage. Even, that's all sounds like big speaking, kind of like the vlogs I write for my clients. And it's just as applicable to the solopreneur as it is to a large corporation. It's easier for us, I think, to be more facile. And I think it's just it is a willingness to kind of be comfortable in with a lot of different apps, a lot of digital environments. And, I'm a Gen Xer, for me being a non-digital native, it's a little, it was tricky, I think. And it's probably still keep a pad of, I still keep my daily to-dos written down and scrawl, but.
I hear that. And so I want to ask you about that. Like, one of the big fears, I think, of making the decision, right, to go with, let's just get the site up with something like Squarespace, let's just use MailChimp's free version, is eventually everyone's like, well, what if I have to move later? And I talk to clients all the time about this. Like, how did you reconcile that, well, if I start here, can I migrate this to WordPress later? Did you think about that, or was that just like,
100%, 100%? Because eventually,
how did you reconcile it?
Well, I mean, honestly, I reconciled it because I was like, I just need to get out there easy and fast, and this is a little bit difficult, and I know I can move it over. And, I still am pushing everyone towards my email list.
Yep.
That's how I reconciled it, is that I'm not just doing it. I'll just do it on social media, and whoever follows me, follows me. It's like that old, all the digital, all the most successful content creators know this to be true. Own your list. That's the one thing I felt really, building my list is really where I'm pushing towards. And then however I deliver my website down the line, that can change. I'm not scared of it because I've done plenty of migrations. So for me, it doesn't feel scary. And if I have to build out a bigger site, but for me, it was the money right now, honestly. And I ditched WordPress and redid my content marketing site. It's thetruestory.com. At the same time, just because I wanted to look fresh and better, I wanted the responsive design to be solid, and I was sick of dealing with, like, my sites got hacked a few times when plugins were out of date and stuff like that. So it was an investment, and for me, my business, it was sort of like, I'm sort of more the virtual shingle right now, but the True Bliss rotation site there'll be an e-commerce piece of it, and I'm planning for that, but I'll migrate down the line. More than likely.
What a good problem to have, right? Like, that's what I think about. Is like, at what point will, if you reach a point where you feel like you've outgrown something, that's a really good problem to have. Like, don't let that get in the way right now of you getting started.
Right.
And that's fantastic. So let's switch gears again and go back to your writing and content and managing all the different clients. Was there anything that you felt compelled to share or show, about how that works for you, or not? We don't have to go there if you don't need to. We could just talk some more about either meditation or that.
Yeah, I mean, I could show you guys if you're interested. We can do a little show and tell. Here, I can share my screen. I will share my
Hold on one second. Well, you had it shared.
I had it, and then
I didn't have it up, but I'm going to hide that. I'm going to pull that up when you share it again.
Share my screen, and I'm going to show you on my crap from tab.
Again, I love that your exposure to all of these apps. One, trending towards simplicity matters for you. Let me know when I'll wait till you can. There we go.
Just Otter, because it's fun, right?
Okay. And I want you to tell me what's the use case for when you use that. But so going to simplicity, but also that in all the apps that you've had a chance to look at, it seems like people would be safe going with any of them.
Any of them. I mean,
all the project management apps that you see out there, all the team connection stuff, they all work.
They all work, and they're all sort of the same. So the learning curve is not such a big deal. Like, they all have their nuances. Now, I am sure, and I'm sure a lot of your guests will make the case for being a heavy user and actually getting really into the app and using all the really cool features and things to make your life more automated and productive. I'm all for that. But like I said, there's probably an old school me, and I have all my clients like different things. So just Otter really quick, because it's so great. Like, I have my little files and my people. And
so what's the use case here, though? Like, what is, it's a transcription. Right. So how is content arriving that you're using? What are you using this for specifically?
So this one, I'm ghostwriting a book. So that's one of my projects right now for a casting director named John Levy. And so John and I have had multiple conversations Now, how I'm using this app, which I think is a really cool thing, is that we started off on Zoom virtual. So I recorded all our Zoom conversations. I downloaded the recording and dumped it into Otter, which then transcribed it. Now we're meeting in person in his backyard. So I use my phone and I record him and it transcribes it as I'm talking. Now, what is cool about Otter that I love is you can highlight and annotate while you're talking. So if somebody says something really important, I don't know if I have any examples of that, but I highlight right away so that I don't forget where I was on the page, and then I download it. Now, this is because it's a ghostwriting client, and we're writing about a very full career. This guy casted everything from China Beach to ER, and now he's on Shameless and Animal Kingdom, all sorts of great shows. He's a prolific casting director. His stuff needs to be saved for posterity. So what's so cool about this app is I have his recording here. I have our transcription. I have it all in one place. And then I do a really anal thing where I download all of the audio and I store it in a just for safekeeping in on a hard drive, on a flash drive. So we have it all. I have it all, and then I'm going to give it at the end when we're completed the project and finished talking about 40 years of a very prolific casting career. He gets to keep it all. So that's where an app is like, it's so cool, and I'm not scared I'm going to lose anything. I mean, I've ghostwritten stuff a long time ago before any of this stuff existed, and I recorded 17 different ways till Sunday, and I wrote longhand notes, and I typed the note. I mean, it was like crazy. Now it's all in this Otter.
So it's in Otter, and you mentioned that you can annotate it as you're going along, make notes along the way.
Annotate it while you're going along. So while I'm in conversation with somebody, it's phenomenal. Like, this is like me loving AI so much. It's the AI is pretty good on this. It doesn't screw up words as much as other transcription programs. I've tried Trent, for example, which was fine, but not as powerful as this. The transcription's great. I can highlight and annotate as I'm going along, and it's and then you can download it 18 ways till Sunday, any kind of, download you need. And so I use this pretty heavily, and I will, I'll also, when I'm having a client meeting, I'll ask if I can record on Zoom, and I'll transcribe it so I can remember all the stuff that they said extemporaneously. So I use this a lot.
Well, I can see that being, so that's where I was thinking in terms of the use case of working with a client and having to extract content, right? You're having these conversations. You're trying to tease out what the major themes are for the month or whatever, even if, you might have a content calendar, but there's sometimes the CEO just has this different direction or something is sort of bubbling up that they want to talk about. To be able to have that conversation, transcribe it, annotate it as you're going along, gives you so many pieces of content to write around, I would imagine. It could be a really great tool for just capturing those conversations. I remember, I think Chris used to do something called an executive briefing, meet with the CEO at the beginning of the month, get, half hour, 45 minutes, and then all the content kind of comes from, or much of the content comes from that conversation. And this seems like a great way to pull that out.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I do with the client that I write, work on thought leadership content. We meet weekly, and he has so many ideas. He's like a walking idea factory, and he spits it out really quickly. And I never worry. I actually listen and engage with him because the AI is writing it out for me.
That's cool.
I'm like a manic typer, but with this thing, I don't have to manically type anymore. And I actually love that. And I'm training myself more and more to annotate as I'm going along and remember to highlight something or fix something.
That's really clever. I could see that being really great in coaching actually as well. That, I do I do most of my coaching in audio. I like to hear, I can tune out other distractions, visual distractions, and just listen. I hear these inflections, but to be able to sort of annotate along the way, I kind of like that because I am making notes but to have the context, to have it related directly to what was just said, my thought and what they just said seems really cool.
Yeah.
We have a listener from Ethiopia right now. My friend Tom is in Ethiopia, and he says, "This is a good topic. Thanks." So thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. He's watching along there on the other side of the world, which is kind of cool.
I have another one. This is a fun tip for everybody, because content curation for your clients, if you're a writer, for yourself, if you're is it going over to this one? Let's see. Oh, whoops. Let me see if I can change I want to go over to another tab. How does that happen?
It's a good question.
I will figure that out in 1 second. Hold on.
You might have to reshare.
And I'm going to reshare, and I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go onto a tab. Here we go. Just want to show, I don't know if people remember Feedly or have used it in a while. Let's see. Here it comes. Feedly. Okay. So this is one of the things. So content curation, which is, I work with Brian Clark. He is from Copyblogger, Unemployable Further. And realistically, content curation is really what he's promoting a lot of, which is really sharing valuable content with people. I do a lot of content curation for my clients. I get ideas for my clients because that's also incumbent on me. I use Feedly, and Feedly is brilliant because, like, if you look on here, like, I called myself Pete Shadow. My client Pete, I asked him, I did a survey of all the publications he reads or would like to read, wishes he read every single day, and I look at them every single day. And I have my own Feedly about the topics that I read on about. For example, I write weekly for further.net, the midlife Gen X newsletter about health, wealth, and personal, well, all the things. Yeah. I have a Feedly that I look at every day for topics. That's how I decided to write about marijuana this week. That's in today's issue of further.net.
You needed Feedly for that.
I needed Feedly to write about weed because that would have never occurred to me naturally. Okay. And so I really am grateful for Feedly. But
that's good.
Yeah, so that's an app. Feedly is something that I use all the time. I also have it on my phone. I add stuff all the time. It's like the old RSS feed, right? Which
yes. Yep.
I find that really helpful. So if you're somebody that needs to come up with ideas for yourself or for your clients, that's a really good one. I was talking about Notion. Let's see if I can stop the screen share.
Yeah, actually, in a couple of weeks, we're having someone walk us through how he uses Notion. That's an app that I've been turned on to, but haven't really dug into myself. And I'm very curious because I see it as sort of like, it was like Evernote, but then it's you mentioned how plain it was, sort of really just black, black and white.
It's so old school, right?
It looks so like it almost was like, yeah, it didn't make immediate sense. I could see it, but I want someone to walk me through it. So why not have a guest on?
I will absolutely tune in when you guys are walking through Notion, because I am sure I'm not using the full potential, but like my client's assistant was able to like very quickly and easily set up an editorial calendar that makes sense. So we're commingling both long form content, which is what I help create, and ideate, and short form stuff for him. And it's a collaborative effort, and everybody from me, who's the external, the freelancer, to the big boss man, the client himself, and then also the assistant, we're all able to collaborate and schedule things out. I'm showing you kind of a not scheduled client writing and stuff like that. And then I don't know if I have any other exciting, like I could share it and show you just because it's terrifying. This could be like the like what makes my life a living hell file.
Right.
I'll just show you very quickly. This is what Basecamp can look like.
Oh yeah. This is you've just turned me off all project management just with that right there. Like
so many things, and, a million messages and all the things. So that's where I start going,
That's where I start to feel like the app has taken over and it isn't serving. And maybe it is. I'm wrong. I could be very wrong, but I feel like the once it reaches that level, there's so much going on. You've got to really have a good team around you to make sure everything's really moving and really be using this as a solo preneur or someone with a small team. That feels really heavy and overwhelming, like almost that it's managing you and you're not it's not helpful, or
Yeah.
you're spending so much time managing what goes in there that you're not being productive. So
Yeah. Just like having meetings about your next meeting.
Right. Which I would like fewer of those. That would be great.
Yes.
Trudi Roth, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great because I feel like we've gotten, this picture of a couple different businesses, but really liked sort of the way you were talking about Otter.ai. I thought that was really, really cool. But, just thinking about all the different platforms that you manage, all the different communication styles that you have to attune to, and how that's all working for you. So I really appreciate you sharing everything that you did.
Yeah. So, you know what? For a meditation teacher, I feel like there was a lot of thoughts running through this conversation, but my days are kind of chaotic. And I don't think I'm alone. It's when you brought up this idea, and I think such a brilliant idea for a podcast. And some people, God bless them, dig really deep and have productivity. It's like, I really am, in service of my clients. And when I have 10 different apps, 10 different clients, all happening at once. I wish I could be like, hey guys, let's just do one thing. But if that's not possible, then, you end up I say take the best, leave the rest.
Yeah. And you are, again, where I think those choices and all those options get overwhelming is when we don't decide, right? When we're sort of stuck in, should I do this or should I do that? You made a decision to be available in a very specific way to your clients. They just happen to be using those apps, so you attune. But it's a decision. It's not something that you are sitting there fretting over necessarily. It's hard. It's a lot to manage, but because it comes from a place of having chosen this work and chosen how to be and show up for your clients, I think that makes it a lot easier to do. So I think that's, really key is once you make the decision, it's just how it is. Like you said, take the best and leave the rest. So thanks again. And you can find Trudi on It's the True Story or at True Bliss Meditation. Go check that out, or check her out on Instagram on It's the True Story. So thanks again for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rob. It was